The gala was a sea of glittering gowns, sharp tuxedos, and champagne glasses that clinked with practiced elegance. I felt like an intruder in a world designed for perfection, where every smile was calculated and every laugh had an edge. I kept my eyes low, scanning the crowd, avoiding any unwanted attention. That's when I saw her Elise, the Ice Queen herself. Standing near the center of the ballroom, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. She was like a sculpture come to life, and for some reason, my pulse skipped. "She's intimidating," muttered the guy next to me. Noticing my stare, "Yeah," I said, not taking my eyes off her, but not scary. Just cold. I didn't realize she had noticed me until she was right in front of me. "You're Ethan, aren't you?" Her voice was smooth, almost hypnotic, but underneath it, I felt the chill of steel. "Yes," I said cautiously, straightening. "And you are Elise, I presume?" Her eyes flicked over me, sharp, assessing. "I've heard a lot about you. Ambitious, grounded, trustworthy, or at least, that's what people say." She tilted her head slightly, the faintest smirk touching her lips. "I wonder if the real you lives up to the reputation." I bristled but forced a calm smile. "I guess you'll find out if you work with me." She leaned closer, just enough to make my heart race, though I fought the urge to let it. "That's actually why I'm here," she straightened suddenly, restoring the Ice Queen mask. "I have a proposal for you." I raised an eyebrow. "A proposal?" She nodded, gaze piercing. "I want you as my business partner. There's a venture I'm starting. High risk, potentially higher reward. I believe you're exactly the kind of mind I need." I laughed, but it was bitter. "You want me? At least you don't know me, and I don't know the first thing about your so-called venture." "Exactly," she said, eyes glinting. "That's why I want you. Fresh perspective. Someone who isn't tainted by corporate politics." I shook my head firmly. "I don't work with people I can't trust. And honestly, Elise, this sounds like a trap." Her lips curved into that same faint, knowing smirk. "A trap?" she asked, tilting her head. "Oh, Ethan, you wound me." "I mean it," I said, stepping back slightly. "I can see the way you operate. Manipulation, intimidation. This isn't a partnership. It's a test. And I'm not interested." Her eyes darkened for a fraction of a second before the mask returned. "Bold. I like bold. But beware. Some doors once opened can't be closed so easily. Saying no now may feel safe, but I guarantee your life will be different if you refuse." I laughed louder this time, trying to mask the chill her words left in my chest. "Dramatic. You always talk like that?" "Only when it matters," she said softly, then straightened. "I respect honesty, Ethan. I also respect intelligence. You might be the only one who sees through me today." "I see through a lot of people," I replied, keeping my voice even, though my hands had started to tighten into fists. "I'm not here to play your games." "So, no." She took a step closer, not threatening, just intentional. "Very well, no it is. For now." Her gaze lingered on me, piercing, calculating. "But remember, sometimes saying no makes the consequences sweeter for those who ignore it." I swallowed, uneasy, but managed to smile. "I'll take my chances." The moment stretched, her eyes locked on mine, as if trying to read my very thoughts. Then, without another word, she turned and glided away through the crowd, leaving me with a strange mixture of relief and adrenaline. I watched her disappear, realizing I hadn't felt fear like that in a long time. Not fear of failure, not fear of loss, but fear of someone who could see through me, predict me, and still choose to toy with my life. I clenched my jaw, deciding then and there that if she thought she could intimidate me into submission, she had another thing coming. And yet, even as I promised myself I'd stay far away, a tiny part of me wondered what it would feel like to work with her, to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Ice Queen. But I pushed the thought down. For now, the answer was clear. No. CHP.2. It had been a week since the gala, and Elise had been different. Surprisingly different. She stopped staring at me like I was an intruder, at least on the surface. Now, her words carried a tone that almost felt Friendly, I shook my head. I didn't trust it, not fully, but I couldn't deny that a small part of me wanted to. Ethan, over here. It was Sam, my colleague, waving me toward the corner of the office. I joined him, glancing at Elise across the room. She was leaning against the window, reviewing some documents, her expression calm and almost soft. My stomach twisted. "Hey," Sam said, handing me a folder. "Got your notes from yesterday's pitch?" "Yeah," I replied, flipping through them quickly. "Thanks. Don't mention it. But seriously, watch out. Elise has been weird lately. Too nice. Makes me suspicious." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Weirdly nice? Or calculatingly nice?" Sam shrugged. "Honestly, could be either. But whatever it is, keep your guard up." I nodded, turning my attention back to Elise. A week ago, I would have avoided her. Now I found myself curious. Why was she being helpful? Why did she even bother? Later that day, she approached me at my desk. "Ethan, I reviewed your proposal. I think it has potential, but you overlooked a few key numbers." I froze, surprised. "You looked at it?" She nodded. "I'm offering guidance. Consider it mentorship." I blinked, unsure whether to be flattered or suspicious. "Why?" "You've been clear about your expectations." "Why help me?" Her lips curved slightly. "Because I see potential. Because I want this venture to succeed. For both of us." I hesitated, then nodded slowly. "All right, thanks, I'll make the adjustments." She walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor. I watched her go, a small part of me wanting to believe her. But another louder part whispered, "Be careful." The next day, it was time for the big pitch. I had prepared for weeks. Charts, numbers, predictions, all perfect. I walked into the conference room, my colleagues buzzing with energy. "You ready, Ethan?" Sam whispered. "Always," I said, trying to steady my nerves. I started my presentation, my voice steady at first, but then something felt off. My slides weren't loading correctly. Charts were mismatched. Key figures had been altered. I froze. "Wait, this isn't right," a laugh echoed from the back. Elise was standing there, arms crossed, looking flawless. "Oh? Something wrong, Ethan?" My heart raced. "These numbers. There? Wrong. Someone tampered with them." She tilted her head, expression casual. "Really? That's unfortunate." I scanned the room. Colleagues whispered, some frowning, others confused. The humiliation hit like a punch. All the trust I had begun to feel gone. "You did this," I accused, voice trembling but loud enough for everyone to hear. Elise's smirk was cold. "I suggested revisions, Ethan. You didn't follow them?" I clenched my fists. "Those weren't revisions, they were sabotage. You knew they'd make me look bad." Her eyes softened for just a second, almost mocking, then returned to that perfect Ice Queen mask. "Perhaps. But I always said this venture is higher risk. You wanted in. You took the chance." "Chance?" I spat, fury burning in my chest. "You manipulated me. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone." She shrugged elegantly. "It's called strategy. You'll understand when you rise higher." I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. Betrayal wasn't supposed to hurt this much. Not from someone who claimed to respect me. Not from someone I had started. Trusting, I stormed out of the room, the whispers of colleagues following me like knives. Sam caught up, grabbing my arm. "Ethan, are you okay?" I shook him off, my mind racing. "No, I'm not okay. She set me up. Every kind word, every piece of advice, lies, all of it was a trap." Sam frowned. "Damn, that's cold." I sank onto the nearest bench, breathing hard. Cold doesn't even cover it. I thought maybe she was different, that she saw something real in me. But she doesn't care about anyone. She just wins. She plays people like pieces on a board, and I was one of them. Sam crouched beside me. "Then what are you going to do?" I clenched my jaw, staring at the floor. I don't know yet. But I know this Sile makes sure she never underestimates me again. I'll take back my dignity. And when I do, my fingers curled into fists. She'll regret ever thinking she could destroy me. I left the building that day with a burning determination. Elise thought she had humiliated me, broken me. But all she did was awaken something inside. A hunger for control, for revenge, for proving that I wasn't someone she could toy with. And I promised myself, next time, I would be the one holding all the cards. I found her in the executive lounge, alone, sipping coffee with that same unnerving calm. My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears as I stepped closer. "Elise," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "we need to talk." Now. She looked up, eyebrows raised. "Oh, about what, Ethan?" "Your presentation." "Don't play coy," I snapped. "I know what you did. You sabotaged me. Those numbers, every last one, were tampered with. Why?" She set her cup down slowly, letting the silence stretch. "Why? Because I can." I took a step closer, anger boiling. "Because you can. That's your answer?" She tilted her head, eyes glinting with amusement. "Do you really think this is about revenge? Or do you think I simply dislike you?" "Ethan, you're naive. This isn't personal. This is strategy. You, my dear, are in the way of something much bigger. Strategy." I scoffed. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. Do you call that strategy?" She smirked, that perfect icy smirk. "Humiliation is a tool, Ethan. Sometimes people need it to see the bigger picture. You've been so focused on being morally right, you didn't notice the game I'm playing." I felt my hands clench at my sides. I don't play games. I don't manipulate people. I don't destroy them for my own gain. Her gaze softened for a fraction of a second, almost pitying. "And that's exactly why you're predictable. But don't worry, you're learning fast." I swallowed hard, trying not to let the mix of anger and humiliation show. "So that's it. You thought you could toy with me, and I'd just take it." She leaned back, crossing her legs, casual and untouchable. "Take it? No. I wanted to see how you'd react. You see, Ethan, you have a mind I respect, even if your morals make you fragile. I wanted to test it, and you'll failed spectacularly. Fragile," I snapped. "I walked into that room, trusted you even a little, and you turned it against me." Her laugh was soft, controlled, almost musical. "Trust. Oh, Ethan, trust is a luxury in this world. You thought I'd hand it over? You thought someone like me would play fair? No, you either learn, adapt, or get left behind. Consider this lesson 1. I felt a punch to the gut. Every humiliation from that conference, every whisper behind my back, every disbelief in my abilities, they all came rushing back. "You think this changes me? You think I'll just let you get away with it?" She raised a single finger, dismissive. "Careful, Ethan. Temper makes fools of us all. You're lucky I respect your intellect, or you'd be out of this venture completely." I stepped back, frustration and fury swirling inside me. "Lucky? You call this luck? You've ruined me. My reputation, everything. And for what? Some twisted experiment?" Her eyes flicked over me, assessing. "Consider it a reality check. I don't ruin people. I sharpen them. You'll thank me eventually." I shook my head, voice low but trembling. "I don't think I'll ever thank you for this. I'll make sure of it." She leaned forward slightly, her smile teasing. "Promises are dangerous, Ethan. You might not get the chance to keep this one. But I admire your fire. That much is real." I turned on my heel and walked out, the lounge doors closing behind me like a trap snapping shut. My chest heaved, every step heavy with humiliation. I felt powerless, exposed, but burning inside with a determination that frightened me. That night, I sat in my apartment, replaying every word, every gesture, every subtle calculation Elise had made. I couldn't believe how I'd let myself be drawn in, fooled by what I thought was mentorship or kindness. Why did I trust her? I muttered to myself, running my hands through my hair. I should have known better. Every warning, every instinct I ignored. I thought back to my early days fresh out of college, eager, full of idealism. I had trusted people too easily, believed in honesty as the ultimate currency. And every time, someone like Elise came along and reminded me how naive I was. But not this time. This time, I wouldn't let it break me. I pulled out my laptop, scanning financial projections, contact lists, and potential allies. Every piece of information, every connection she thought she controlled, I would reclaim. I whispered under my breath, tone sharp and deliberate. She thinks she's in control. She thinks she can dictate the game. But the board is mine too. And I'm already making my move. The glow from the laptop reflected off the glass of wine I hadn't touched. My mind raced with possibilities. Alliances to forge, reputations to rebuild, moves to counter hers. Every setback, every humiliation became fuel. I leaned back, letting the weight of my plans settle. Elise had shown me her true face, revealed her icy manipulations, and left me reeling. But I was done being the pawn. Tomorrow I would start, and when I acted, it would be on my terms. Elise would see the consequences of underestimating me, and she would regret ever thinking she could break me. I walked into Elise's office for the first time. Heart pounding, palms slightly sweaty. The room was vast, glass walls giving a panoramic view of the city, sleek marble floors, and minimalist furniture. Every detail screamed control, wealth, perfection. And I hated it. "Ethan, you're here," Elise said, looking up from her desk. Her tone was neutral, but her eyes, those piercing eyes, scanned me like I was part of her strategy. "Yes," I replied, forcing calm. "I'm ready." "Good, because I don't have time for hesitation or mistakes. I never make mistakes." I shot back, though my throat felt tight. She raised an eyebrow. "Confidence is admirable. Arrogance is dangerous. Don't confuse the two." I gritted my teeth. "I'll keep that in mind." She smirked, a faint calculating curve of her lips. "See, Ethan, I'm already enjoying this." I clenched my fists behind my back. Enjoying this? The thought made my blood boil. But I reminded myself, cooperate, observe, and wait for the right moment. The day began with introductions to her team. A mix of sycophants and competitors, all polished and sharp. I noticed subtle glances, whispers, and the way people leaned toward her. Hanging on every word, "Everyone, this is Ethan," Elise said. "He's joining our project. Keep your interactions professional. No favoritism." A few colleagues nodded, some with polite smiles, others with eyes that assessed me like a new opponent. I caught one man, Carter, muttering something under his breath. "He thinks he can outshine us already," whispered another colleague, Julia, leaning closer. "Good luck with that," I smirked subtly. "Thanks for the vote of confidence." Lisa's gaze flicked to me. "See, Ethan, they're already talking. I like that. Sparks make people interesting." I met her eyes, resisting the urge to roll mine. "I prefer substance over sparks." She tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "And yet, here you are, standing in my world. Substance alone won't save you." Over the next few hours, we dove into the project. Her methods were exacting, demanding, sometimes suffocating. But I began noticing something: small cracks in her armor. A slight hesitation when she reviewed my suggestions. A quick glance at my reaction when she made a harsh comment. Almost like she wanted me to rise to the challenge. "You missed a detail here," she said sharply. Pointing at my report, I noticed I replied evenly. I adjusted the projections already. "Want me to show you?" She paused, considering, then nodded. "Go ahead." I walked her through the revisions, careful to stay professional. Careful not to let her see the admiration or something else I felt. She listened, genuinely interested, asking questions I didn't expect. "Interesting perspective," she finally said. "Most people wouldn't catch that. Most people just nod and agree." I froze slightly, surprised by the rare compliment. "I'm not most people, clearly," she said, and for a moment, the Ice Queen mask faltered, just enough for me to see the respect in her eyes. Our interactions grew tense, but strangely charged. Every discussion was a battle, every disagreement a subtle dance of power. And beneath it all, I sensed a grudging recognition on her part. She respected my resilience, my intellect, and that made everything more complicated. By mid-afternoon, we faced a critical challenge. A client had changed requirements at the last minute, demanding immediate solutions. Elise's team froze, but she looked at me. "Ethan," she said, voice clipped. "Think fast. How do we resolve this?" I hesitated, scanning the options, calculating the risks. We can reallocate resources from the secondary projects, bring in extra analysts, and adjust the timeline. It's risky, but it keeps the client satisfied. She studied me, expression unreadable. Bold, most would panic. Most would crumble. "I don't crumble," I said, voice firmer than I felt. She nodded slowly. "Good. Because I don't tolerate failure. Not from you, not from anyone." Together, we began coordinating the response. My suggestions integrated with her directives. Our minds working in tandem despite the tension, the mutual distrust, and the unspoken challenge hanging between us. At one point, she handed me a tablet. "You're sharper than I gave you credit for. Don't let it go to your head, though. I expect perfection." I smirked, resisting the urge to tease her back. "Noted in you. Don't let your ego overshadow reality." She paused, just a heartbeat, and then her lips twitched. Touché. The day ended with the crisis averted, but the air between us remained taut. Mutual respect mingled with rivalry, tension, and something neither of us dared to name. I left her office feeling exhausted, exhilarated, and strangely intrigued. As I walked toward the elevator, I caught her gaze lingering on me. Not cold, not mocking, something else. I couldn't quite place it, but it sent a shiver down my spine. And just as I reached the lobby, my phone buzzed a message from one of our analysts. The client's new data had revealed a critical flaw we hadn't anticipated. I froze. I didn't like it. I hated it, actually. But I had no choice. Elise's terms were non-negotiable: work together or watch the entire project collapse. My pride wanted to walk away, but my instincts screamed that leaving would be worse. "Fine," I said, finally my voice even. "We collaborate. But on my conditions too." She raised an eyebrow, that calculating smirk crossing her lips. "Oh, conditions. Interesting. Let's hear them. I retain control over my team and any key decisions related to financial projections." "I don't want surprises," I said, keeping my tone firm. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "And I thought I was the Ice Queen." "Very well. You have your conditions. For now. But Ethan," she added softly, almost a whisper, "don't forget who's in control of the bigger picture." I met her gaze, undeterred. "I won't forget. And I'm not here to compete for control. I'm here to survive this. Your world." Her lips twitched into a faint smile. Survival. That's a good start. That afternoon, we dove into the project with tentative steps. Every suggestion I made was scrutinized. Every move she made tested my reactions. She would ask questions that seemed simple, but were designed to reveal my confidence or my doubts. "Why did you choose this supplier?" she asked sharply. "They have the best turnaround and reliability," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "And the cost?" She pressed, competitive. "No risk of overpaying. Quality remains high," I replied. Her eyes lingered on me, assessing. "Impressive." Most would have hesitated, worried about being second-guessed. "You stand firm." I allowed a small smirk. "Experience, Elise. Some of us learn the hard way, because I don't like hesitation." "It's contagious," she said, then paused as if reconsidering. "Actually, contagious can be useful. Sparks innovation." I blinked. "Sparks or manipulation?" She leaned closer, voice low and teasing. "You'll figure out which I prefer eventually." Despite the tension, I noticed subtle changes. She would hand me files first, or quietly acknowledge a good point I made during team meetings. These were small, almost imperceptible gestures, but they hinted at respect or maybe amusement at how much I irritated her. Either way, I observed carefully, noting every detail. Later, I met with Marcus, my mentor and closest ally outside Elise's world. "Ethan, are you sure you're not getting in too deep?" he asked over coffee, eyes searching mine. "I have to, Marcus," I said. "If I walk away now, Elise wins completely. If I stay, maybe I can turn this to my advantage. Just don't let her make you compromise your principles. She's a master manipulator." "I know," I said, gripping my cup tightly. "I've learned the hard way. But I can't just fold. Not anymore." Back at the office, a rival Carter confronted me in the hallway. "Looks like you're actually surviving in her world, huh?" he said, smirking. "I'm not surviving," I replied, voice calm. "I'm learning. And you should watch closely. You might pick up a trick or two." His smirk faltered slightly. "We'll see, Ethan. We'll see." As the days passed, Elise and I navigated the project with a tense rhythm, her icy efficiency, my calculated strategies. Our clashes grew sharper, but so did our results. We began complimenting each other in ways I hadn't expected. At one point, she pulled me aside in her office. "You handled that client call exceptionally," she said quietly, almost sincerely. "Most people would have panicked." "Thanks," I said cautiously, unsure if she was testing me again. "No test," she said softly. "I respect competence when I see it. Don't mistake it for warmth, though." I nodded, not saying anything. But inside, I felt the faintest acknowledgement Elise had seen me. Really seen me, even if briefly, by the end of the week. Our collaboration yielded results. The client was satisfied, numbers aligned, and the team's morale had improved. I allowed myself a small moment of satisfaction, but I didn't let it soften me. Elise's world was beautiful, but suffocating. Dangerous. Every compliment, every gesture could be another test. As I packed up my things that evening, she appeared at my desk. "We did well," she said simply. I looked up, keeping my tone neutral. "Yes, but don't get used to it. One success doesn't make us equals." Her lips twitched, just barely. "Good. I like that fire. Keep it." I left the office with a strange mixture of relief and caution. Success was sweet, but I reminded myself constantly this could all be a trap. Every small victory could be a setup for a bigger fall. And yet, despite my resentment, despite my anger, I couldn't ignore the unspoken tension that lingered between us. Every conversation, every collaboration, every glance carried multiple meanings. Resentment, respect, and respect. And something else. Something I wasn't ready to name. As I walked out into the city lights, I promised myself Elise might control the world around her, but I would control myself. And when the right moment came, I would take back everything she thought she owned. For now, we were partners, dangerous and unwilling. But the game was only beginning. I watched the news flash on my laptop, sipping coffee I barely tasted. Elise's latest venture had stumbled. Her competitor, a ruthless CEO named Harper, exposed flaws in her supply chain management, and investors were panicking. A small smile tugged at my lips. Not satisfaction, not really, but a sense of balance being restored. "Ethan." Marcus's voice came from the doorway. My mentor leaned against the frame, eyebrow raised. "You look different. Calm. Different." I echoed, eyes glued to the screen. "I've been planning for this for months. Everything's unfolding as expected." Marcus shook his head. "Careful. Don't let it consume you. Revenge isn't everything." "I know," I said, closing the laptop. "But watching someone like Elise realize they're not untouchable, there's value in that. Lessons are harshest when they hit home." Later that afternoon, Elise appeared at my office unannounced. I didn't flinch. I sat back, letting her enter, measuring her steps, the way her gaze flicked over my workspace. "You look comfortable," she said, voice neutral. Not what I expected. "I've learned to adapt," I replied smoothly. "You taught me well." She froze, blinked, and then her lips tightened. You played this well, didn't you?" I leaned forward slightly. "I planned carefully. Nothing you taught me or tried to teach was wasted." But I followed my instincts, not yours. Our eyes narrowed. I underestimated you. That was my mistake. It cost you, I said softly. I'm not here to gloat, Elise. I'm here to close a chapter. She let out a soft, almost bitter laugh. Close a chapter. It sounds so final. Do you feel victorious? I shook my head. Not truly. Revenge is never fully satisfying, but watching reality strip away your illusions, that's necessary. Closure comes from strength, not bitterness. Her gaze softened briefly, vulnerability flashing. Do you think? If I admitted my mistakes, you'd forgive me? I leaned back, eyes steady. Forgiveness isn't my goal. Learning is. And I've learned that strength isn't measured by control over others. It's measured by resilience, by rising above manipulation and betrayal. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I never thought you'd become. This confident, controlled, calm, under pressure. I had to, I said. Your games almost destroyed me. I couldn't let them. And I won't let anyone else in any scheme, any person take my life hostage again. She paused and asked quietly, Do you hate me? I considered it, then shook my head. Hate is too heavy a burden. You're a lesson, Elise. Nothing more, nothing less. I've moved past bitterness. Her eyes glistened slightly. A flicker of regret, or was it frustration, showing through her icy facade. And yet, you've taken everything from me. My reputation, my control. You've turned it all around. I didn't take it, I said firmly. I reclaimed what you tried to take from me. The rest is on you. She looked away, gaze fixed on the floor. For the first time, I saw her uncertainty, the cracks in her perfection. She wasn't untouchable. She was human, flawed, and fallible. I stood, walking toward the window, feeling the city stretch beneath me. This is what growth feels like, I said softly. Not vengeance, not cruelty. Resilience, integrity, and the ability to rise after being knocked down. She followed, silent, uncharacteristically quiet. You've changed, she said finally, voice low. I don't know if I like it or resent it. I glanced at her, then back at the skyline. It doesn't matter what you feel. I've learned to control myself, my reactions, my path. That's what matters. Her shoulders slumped slightly, the Ice Queen's mask slipping, revealing the human beneath. I never imagined someone like you could outmaneuver me. I thought experience and strategy were enough. They are, I said, if you don't underestimate others. If you don't manipulate blindly. I survived, Elise, and I grew stronger because of it. She nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement of defeat and perhaps respect. You're different from anyone I've met. I hope so, I replied. But remember, the sim not invincible. I'm careful. Strategic, I rise. But I don't underestimate, and I never let control slip. A pause stretched between us, thick with unspoken words. I felt a quiet closure settling in me. The anger, the humiliation, tension it had all transformed into clarity and strength. You've taught me something, she said softly, almost a whisper. About resilience. About adapting. About power. And you. Asked, have you learned anything? She didn't answer immediately. Then, quietly perhaps, that not everything can be controlled. That people change. I nodded. Exactly. And sometimes letting go of control isn't weakness, it's wisdom. With that, she turned and left my office without another word. The door closed softly behind her, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a sense of completion I hadn't expected. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. The journey had been painful, full of anger and betrayal, but I'd come out on the other side, stronger, wiser, resilient. And as I stared out at the city lights, I understood finally closure wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my peace of mind. I found Elise standing by the conference window, arms crossed, staring out at the city below. She didn't turn when I entered, but I felt her presence, the quiet intensity she carried like a shield. You're here early, she said without looking. I like to plan, I replied evenly, and observe. Her lips curved slightly, almost imperceptibly. Observe. Interesting. You've become hard to read. I've learned from the best, I said, meeting her gaze finally. Her icy stare held, and for a moment, I felt the tension we'd built over months thicken, you know? She said softly, almost a whisper, I didn't expect you to survive this, to rise above me. And yet, here you are, stronger, calmer, untouchable in ways I never imagined. I raised an eyebrow. Is that a compliment or a threat? Perhaps both, she said, turning to face me fully. Her expression flickered pride, frustration, something softer I wasn't ready to name. I suppose you're my weak spot. The words hit me unexpectedly. Weak spot me. I studied her face, looking for the trap, the manipulation, but there was none. Just honesty, raw and terrifying. Why? I asked quietly. Because you can't control me? She hesitated, biting her lower lip. Because I can't ignore you, and maybe I've grown to respect you more than I should. I felt a small, private thrill, not arrogance, just acknowledgement. Respect is mutual, but don't mistake it for trust or intimacy. Her eyes darkened slightly. I wouldn't dream of it, not yet. The tension between us was almost tangible. A charged current neither of us wanted to touch, but both aware existed. We danced around it for months. Power, strategy, resentment, and something far more complex. I heard voices outside the team celebrating the project's success. Laughter, clinking glasses, and murmurs of congratulations filtered in through the glass door. One of the junior analysts leaned toward another and whispered, "Do you think they're?" She, the other, hissed, "Just let them work. They're different together." I smirked slightly, not turning. Elise noticed my expression. "Different," she said softly. "Careful with assumptions. They can mislead." "I'm not assuming anything," I said. "I'm observing. You, me, everyone around us. Patterns, behaviors, weaknesses. That's how I've survived." She studied me, expression unreadable. "And yet, you're more than a survivor. You've grown strong, independent, dangerous in your own way." "Dangerous?" I echoed, curiosity piqued. She nodded, the words slipping out almost unconsciously. "Because you've taken control of what matters to you, and nothing, not me, not anyone else can shake that easily. Not anymore." I felt a flicker of something satisfaction, yes, but also the weight of our shared history. "And what about you, Elise? Are you shaken?" Her eyes glimmered with a hint of vulnerability. "I didn't expect to feel this. Not for someone I can't command, can't predict. It's unsettling." I leaned against the desk, folding my arms. "It's natural. Power, attraction, respect, they're complicated. Especially when boundaries are tested." She stepped closer, voice quieter now. "I've realized I value your presence, professionally and perhaps more than I admit. And that scares me." I kept my expression neutral. "Good, then we're both aware. But I set my boundaries, Elise. You remain close in business, emotionally. You stay at arm's length." Her lips pressed together, almost a pout. "So cold," she murmured, half in jest, half in truth. "Not cold," I said evenly. "Safe, experienced, wise. I've learned what happens when I let someone too close without trust." She studied me, lingering, and I could feel her internal battle pride. Desire, respect all, warring for control. For once, I wasn't worried about manipulation. I was merely curious how far she'd allow herself to feel. A moment of silence stretched, broken only by distant celebration. I glanced at the window again, then back at her. "Ethan," she said softly, "we're different now. I won't pretend I understand it fully, but you've changed the way I see myself." I nodded slowly. "And you've reminded me why control, clarity, and boundaries matter. You can't be ignored, Elise. but neither can I. Her eyes softened, the ice of her persona melting just slightly. So, we continue, partners, strategically aligned. Emotionally cautious. Exactly, I said, tone firm but fair. Professionally close. Personally, careful. She nodded once. Small, tight, but meaningful. Then let's see where this goes. I won't make assumptions, and I hope you don't either. I allowed myself a small, private smile. Agreed. And Elise? Yes? She asked, curiosity flickering. Being your weak spot doesn't scare me. It just reminds me how strong I've become. Her eyes held mine a moment longer, unspoken words and unresolved tension lingering between us. Then, without another word, she turned. Leaving me in the quiet office, I exhaled slowly, feeling the mix of relief, wariness, and something else I couldn't name. Power, attraction, respect. They intertwined, messy and complex, yet clear. I had boundaries now. I had control. I had clarity. And yet, deep down, I knew this was far from the end. The game with the Ice Queen was evolving. And so was I. I stared at the skyline from my office window, the city lights stretching endlessly. Everything felt quieter now, no tension, no schemes, no constant games. Just clarity, Ethan, Marcus said, stepping in, coffee in hand. You look different. Peaceful. Different. I echoed, taking a slow breath. Stronger, wiser. No one can pull me under anymore, he smirked. And the Ice Queen? I chuckled softly. Elise, powerful, intimidating, brilliant. But she understands one thing. Now she can't control me. That knowledge changes everything. Marcus nodded knowingly. So what's next? Next, I said, voice firm, is living without manipulation. I've earned my freedom, my dignity. I can finally focus on growth without someone pulling strings behind the scenes. Later, Elise appeared at my desk, as usual, her expression unreadable. I didn't flinch. I had nothing left to fear. You've done well, Ethan, she said quietly. Not just in business, personally. I see it now. Independence, strength. You changed the way I see myself. I smiled, polite but guarded. Thank you. And I've learned a lot from you as well. How to recognize manipulation, how to protect myself, how to rise above. Her gaze softened slightly. I respect that. And you, I suppose. We understand each other now. We do, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Professionally, we collaborate. Emotionally, we keep boundaries. That works for both of us. Her lips pressed together, a faint acknowledgement of defeat and perhaps respect. Agreed. I won't overstep. And I won't pretend this was easy for me. It wasn't easy for me either, I admitted. But strength isn't built in comfort zones. It's forged in struggle, betrayal, and the ability to move forward with clarity. She nodded, studying me quietly. I never thought I'd respect someone I couldn't control. And yet, here we are. I let the silence linger. Words weren't necessary. We both knew the unspoken truths, our power struggles, the lessons learned. Later, as I walked through the office, colleagues greeted me with congratulations and quiet admiration. Some whispered about the dynamic between Elise and me. Others commented on the success of the project we'd finally completed without disaster. I paused by a team member's desk. We did it, I said softly. Thanks for your support. For believing in this team, in me. They smiled, small but genuine. You earned it, Ethan. You kept us focused and strong, even when things got complicated. I nodded, feeling the weight of their trust. Complicated, yes, but worth every challenge. Every lesson, every moment of tension had shaped this outcome. That evening, I met Marcus again. You've grown, Ethan, far beyond what I imagined when this all began, he said, eyes reflecting pride. Growth isn't about revenge, I said quietly. It's about reclaiming control, understanding boundaries, and choosing what really matters. Everything else, anger, humiliation, manipulation, it doesn't define me anymore. smiled. And the Ice Queen? I chuckled softly. Elise remains. Elise, brilliant, challenging, and impossible to ignore. But I've learned to navigate her world without losing myself. That's power in itself. As I left the office that night, I felt a strange lightness. Not arrogance, not triumph over someone else, but the satisfaction of owning my life completely. Every lesson, every betrayal, every struggle had led to this moment. I thought back to the first time I met Elise, her icy smile, the way she challenged me, the subtle threats that had once made me doubt myself. And now I saw clearly. I was no longer the person who could be intimidated, manipulated, or broken. At the same time, I acknowledged her impact. Without her, I wouldn't have discovered my limits, my resilience, my strength. Respect, even from someone I'd considered an enemy, mattered. I pulled out my phone and sent a short message to Marcus, feeling free. Finally, his reply was instant. "You earned it. Proud of you." A small smile spread across my face. That was all I needed. Recognition from those who truly mattered and my own validation. As I stepped into the night, I allowed myself one last thought of Elise, not anger, not resentment, not longing, but respect. Mutual, tempered by distance, and free of manipulation. The city felt vast, full of possibilities. Opportunities I would now pursue on my own terms, with clarity and confidence. Every setback, every betrayal, every challenge had led to this empowerment. I inhaled deeply, letting the cool night air fill my lungs. I had my dignity, my independence, my emotional freedom, and for the first time in months, I felt completely at peace. The past had shaped me, but it did not define me. The future was mine to claim.